Hey guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Well, it looks like I got myself into another mess. Last time, I thought Android 18 was cheating on me. I got so distracted by my suspicions that I didn't notice someone was trailing me. Krampus, aka Ugly Roid Head Santa, blasted me from behind and sent me hurtling through space and time with his little funky trans-dimensional key blast. If you haven't watched that one, please make sure you take time to check it out so the rest of this makes sense and you don't think I'm just crazy. Alright, let's get into it. So after Beerus put the screws to Krampus, he spilled the beans on my location, and Bulma had to act fast, or I'd be trapped in time forever. Little did I know, Krampus, being a prime-dimensional being, had a consciousness that transcended time, reaching into the past. He couldn't alter the future, but if someone found himself flung back in time, he could manipulate past versions of himself for an attack. During my time-stuck predicament, he was in his prime, strong enough to seek revenge for his future self. Fate, or rather bad luck, had it that Krampus from that timeline that I was stuck in tracked me down. Meliodas and I faced off for what promised to be the fight of our lives. Krampus couldn't send messages to his past self, but he could project feelings, and the overwhelming hatred he projected towards me made my situation dire. Unbeknownst to me, he never witnessed a timeless strike that finished him off. He thought it was me, and he thirsted for revenge. As Krampus was about to lay waste to us, the Archangel Michael descended, taking a stand between us. Krampus was formidable, but he ain't want that smoke. Gazing in awe at the Archangel Michael, I pondered who in our universe could match his might. Goku, Black Frieza, Broly, Vegeta, or maybe Beerus. It was hard to say. Now Krampus protested,
"You're not permitted to intervene. This is outside of your jurisdiction. The boat one is not from this timeline, and therefore you can't interfere."
Firstly, that sounded like a load of crap he just made up. Secondly, if he was right, I was toast. Michael declared, "You may not harm the child." What the heck, does dude think that I'm a child or something? Krampus replied,
"Allow me to challenge him for the fate of his universe."
"I thought you heard the man. You can't harm me, so shut the... I'll allow it." What? Krampus snarled,
"I don't know you, little one, but I can't stand your little bald-headed."
No cursing. Krampus continued,
"But even though I don't know you, or what you did to me in the future, you will pay. You will be sent through various points in your timeline, and you will have to prevail against all who struck fear in your heart. If you lose, your universe is mine."
What the heck? Who was this creep going to make me fight? I had no desire to face anyone from my past. The reason I felt like a loser and always wanted to prove myself was because of my losses. Heck, I even lost my life in battle to some of those guys. It was extremely traumatic. I had to dig deep because if I didn't find a way to win, everyone I loved would be destroyed. So I had to suck it up and prepare myself for the most traumatic experience imaginable. Suddenly I found myself in an arena. It was massive, and on one side, thousands of elves, evil elves, and demonic creatures filled the stands, clearly rooting for my defeat. Their hatred for me was so intense it made me sick. On the other side, angelic beings wanted me to win, emanating warmth and happiness that got me hyped. My short-lived confidence was shattered when Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, stepped into the ring. I had hoped us being somewhat friends, I might be able to reason with him to let me win. I stepped onto the floor, and just before we touched fists, a symbolic gesture of sportsmanship, a prelude to the impending battle, I whispered to Vegeta, "Hey, if I don't win, they're gonna destroy our universe." He responded with a cold, "Good." What in the world? The dude didn't care if his wife and kids died. Something was off with him. I thought that maybe if he stayed in his base form, I would have a chance. But who was I kidding? This was freaking Vegeta. The bell rang and the fight began. Despite not being much bigger than me, he was intimidating. He swung and I braced for the impact, ready to meet my end. But to my surprise, it didn't hurt. The first time I encountered Vegeta, way back in the day, his power level was like 18,000. Mine was just under 2,000 back then. Now mine had surpassed the point where we stopped calculating power levels. By now it was like a billion or who knows by comparison, I don't know. It was time for payback. I cocked back and slapped him. Not a technique, just an open hand smack to the face. Then I tossed him in the air and threw a destructo disc at him. Now this is the funny part, right? So it flew, and I timed it and aimed it just right, so it cut off the creepy little widow's peak off of his forehead. Then on its return, it sliced the top of his hair, giving him a flat top. I teased and taunted, settling the score for trauma he had inflicted on me in the past. The demonic creatures, for whatever reason, they started to cheer. They loved it, and the angels wore this disappointed expression on their face. Looking at Vegeta, I saw deep sorrow in his face. He was ashamed and humiliated. Suddenly, I felt remorse. This was the guy that had killed thousands, possibly millions or billions. Why did I suddenly feel remorse? Thinking back, on the other end of it, he had also saved billions of lives as well. My heart wrenched, and in that moment, I knew how I needed to finish the fight. Vegeta was raised to kill, and he had experienced extreme childhood trauma, always trying to live up to an unrealistic expectation, probably imposed by his father. I grabbed his hand and told him, "One day you'll be the strongest being in the multiverse," and gently tossed him out of the ring. The demons booed, the angels cheered. If I continued to toy with Vegeta, his power would have kept rising, and I would have been toast. The pattern was becoming goofier, like some sappy Christmas special, but I wasn't having it. I decided I was gonna give the business to whatever opponent I faced next, or so I thought. I had wondered if it would go in chronological order, if they would jumble everything up for some preachy plotline. I had a few moments to rest before my next battle. Fortunately, the first battle was fairly easy, and I wasn't too tired. Now, Perfected Cell stepped onto the stage. What in the world? I thought this guy was tough, but there was no way he was a match for me now, or was he? I could sense his power was high, possibly still higher than mine. I had to win because the fate of the universe hung in the balance. The demons were even rowdier than before, and one shouted, "Fight!" With that, Cell came out swinging. I dodged and attempted to counter, but he caught my arm and tossed me, nearly throwing me out of the ring. I had almost lost. He knew all my moves and learned and adapted very quickly. I couldn't toy around with him. I powered up, augmenting my every strike with my ki. My determination had always been my greatest strength, so when I decided that defeat was not an option, I turned it up a notch. I had a plan. I tossed a Destructo Disc at Cell, and he dodged it as planned. My disc circled back and cut off part of his tail. The cocky little creep let me do it because he knew that it would instantly regenerate, and he wanted to take away my fighting spirit, I guess, who knows. But as soon as that piece of his tail dropped, I grabbed it and threw it out of bounds. The angels erupted in celebration, and the demons were furious. I was declared the winner. All I needed was part of his body to go out of bounds to win the fight. I wasn't even sure if that was the rule here, but it was worth a try, and it paid off. I stood there caught between two opposing sides of cheers and boos, contemplating who I might battle next. I hoped it wouldn't be something goofy like having to fight a past version of my wife, Android 18. Krampus was ringside arguing with his brother Kringle and Michael.
"You bunch of no good cheaters. Why would he have been so scared of those guys? You set me up. I'm telling."
Like for real, who was he gonna tell? He was heated, not anticipating how much I had grown as a fighter and as a person. I was starting to realize it myself. Just as I was feeling better about myself, my next opponent stepped in. It was Frieza, and my knees got weak. This guy had caused me to suffer like no other, and I was terrified. He stepped to the center of the ring and said, "Well, you are fairly strong, so I'll cut right to the chase. I'll give you a taste of my full power. If you were wearing your goofy little scouter, the power level would read 120 million. As he said that, it was clear he thought that was going to impress somebody. I don't know what they told him before they pulled him into the fight, but someone should have told him to keep that a secret. And then Krampus was ringside and he said,
"What in the world? This guy's wicker than the other one. What kind of crap are you guys trying to pull?"
Michael and Kringle sat next to him. The angels started laughing and the demons started booing. Frieza stood there with a look of utter disappointment on his face. It was not the reaction he was expecting. He was not used to being the weakest dude in the room. I knocked him out of the ring in the most respectful way I could think of, a swift kick to the throat. The angels were ecstatic and the demons were ticked. Next they sent out Kid Buu. He was strong, but the version I was fighting was from a time before he had absorbed everyone. I guess you could say his power level would have been 40 billion by comparison, but with my perfected ki state, that really wasn't a challenge either. When I was in the Forest of Terror, I was probably knocking on the 1 trillion mark. I easily defeated him. Let me tell you, Krampus was upset. The angels had played him. They knew how much my strength had grown. All Krampus could tell is that I was deeply afraid of all of them at some point. I felt powerful in that moment, truly strong. I had proven to myself that I was no longer a slave to my regrets and doubts of the past. I could move forward. Suddenly, the arena fell into a hush, and I could feel power like I had never experienced before. I mean, this was insane. This made Zeno look weak. A being floated towards me with an aura so bright I couldn't gaze upon him. As he moved towards me, I had never felt so at peace. I could tell that whatever was moving towards me was not a threat. In fact, the thing loved me. So I was like, yeah, this is nice, but what in the world is happening? Suddenly it spoke, or he spoke. Krillin, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, aka the freaking GOAT. What's up, my dude? I am so proud of you. Not what I was expecting, but okay. So your girl Android 18 prayed for you. She could tell you were going through like a midlife crisis or something. So I set things in motion. After that other bald dude splattered trumpets. Now, I'm pretty sure I made dude, but I don't even know why. Just kidding. But be careful around him. He is freakishly strong. Anyway, I wanted you to know that you're more than your past defeats, and you're better than your worst moments. Your potential as a fighter and as a husband and a father is limitless. Go your way and live your life. I may call on you again though, because I like the way you get down. Before you go though, take this as a gift for your wife. It was Cell's tail. What? She was gonna love it. The creator dude sent me home. When I got back, Bowman 18 were arguing over how to get her teleporter to work to bring me back, and Beerus and Whis were arguing over whether or not to kill Krampus. All of the Z fighters were at Capsule Corp. They had a tree set up and planned to let Pan and Marin celebrate as soon as I got back. When I arrived, I gave my family a huge hug. When it was time to exchange gifts, I was excited to give Android 18 Cell's tail, and she gave me the shoes that I had wanted. I got Marin a tablet and some clothes. Vegeta's kids, they got pretty much whatever they want because, you know, Bulma's rich. And Pan got what appeared to be a stuffed Piccolo doll. And somebody was telling me, wait, it was a baby Yoda and a VR headset for training. I don't, a VR headset, I don't know what that is. It was a perfect Christmas. Everyone seemed so happy. Everyone, that is, except for Goku. I went over to him and said, "What's wrong, buddy?" Before he could answer, I realized what it was. He could tell that I had been on an adventure that pushed me to my limits and made me even stronger, and he felt left out. Then suddenly there was a knock at the door. Guess who it was? Yeah, it was Saitama.
I was cool with hanging out with Dinos for Christmas if I had to, but I really wanted to fight this Goku guy.
Goku's face lit up as he exclaimed, "Best Christmas ever." Indeed it was, my friend. Best Christmas ever. The two squared up and nearly destroyed the planet sparring. Goku, my dude, y'all gonna have to take that outside. I swear, he's like a big dumb kid or whatever. Alright, well, Merry Christmas from Crawford Farms Entertainment.